Welcome to the Permian Strategic Partnership podcast. I'm your host, Krista Escamilla. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Permian Strategic Partnership podcast. It is a pleasure to be with all of you today. This is the podcast where we sit down with the leaders, the visionaries, and the change makers that are truly shaping the future of the Permian Basin. And we are so excited today to have one of those change makers and visionaries with us. I'm your host, Krista Escamilla, and it is a pleasure to be sitting here today with former U.S. Secretary of Commerce and founding chairman of the Permian Strategic Partnership. Please welcome Mr. Don Evans. Don, thank you so much for being with us today.
You bet. Delighted to be here.
Secretary, this is such an honor, really, to be here with you today and really talk about all the things that you have done with the PSP. But first of all, I think what everyone wants to know is, how did you come up with this amazing shared vision between just a partnership between industry and community and businesses? How did you come up with the PSP?
Well, Krista, I would say it started 50 years ago.
Okay.
Moved here in 1975, and it was just an amazing atmosphere and spirit that unlike I had ever experienced in my life. This optimistic, positive, sky's the limit kind of spirit. We call this the land of the high sky, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and I really got involved in the community in every way I could think could kind of help strengthen this community. United Way and the church and YMCA and the like, but Midland, Texas, and West Texas is just special.
It is.
You know, I always like to refer to the artist from El Paso, Tom Lee, who painted a painting that actually hung in the Oval Office while President George W. Bush was there, and it was a painting that Tom Lee referred to as I like to live on the sunrise side of the mountain. And it's that kind of spirit. It is out here in West Texas and Midland. You know, what can we do? We wake up every morning thinking about, you know, the sky's the limit and live on the sunrise side of life. And so, hey, how do you give back? Hey, how do you make this community ever stronger each and every day? And so it really started back then, just kind of my love and passion for, I guess I would say, the Permian Basin. I spent my whole career out here. I was off to Washington for 4 years and then came back to Midland because of my love for this part of you know, the state, the country, the world for that matter. And so in it was actually 2017, some of the local industry leaders came together and realized that just what all may happen out here because of this phenomenal new technology that was being introduced into the oil patch, which everybody on this podcast knows about, horizontal drilling and fracking and the like. And it was changing the game in a big way, and it was really opening up the Permian Basin for a development nobody ever thought was possible. I mean, this had been on a decline for some 40 years when all of a sudden this new technology emerged. So the companies came together and said, look, let's look at our plans, and we give them to McKinsey and ask McKinsey to tell us what it looks like. And McKinsey came back with the information and results to all these companies and said, look, if you execute your plans by 2025, which happens to be now,
yes,
you'll be the third or fourth largest producing area in the world. But to do that, you have to move in 250,000 or 300,000 people. And so they say, wow, okay, that's an interesting challenge. And we look at the schools, and we look at healthcare, look at infrastructure, and a few other critical parts of a vibrant, flourishing community. And they looked at it and said, we've got a lot of work to do in those areas. And so they said, well, let's come together as competitors, but we're focused on how we can improve the quality of life for the citizens in areas where we operate. Wherever we're operating, which we're saying now Permian Basin, which is West Texas, Southeast New Mexico, they wanted to do all they could to improve the quality of life for all the citizens that live in that area. And so they came to me and asked me. I thought I was retired and I was ready to kind of play a little more golf and get my golf game in kind
Right.
of decent shape. But anyway, not to be. They came to me and asked me if I'd be willing to be the chairman, and I said, well, okay, I'm getting a little old, but yeah, I think I'll try this. And so it's been an amazing story. It's been a big part of my life. And so, yeah, I love talking about it.
I love that, and I love seeing the fruits of the labor and the work that you've done over the past 6 years. There have been so many great outcomes. Do you have a favorite? Do you have one that stands out that goes, "Oh, this is"?
Well, I think I have to mention my great friend Chairman Bruce Bugg, who is the chairman of TxDOT, who has been a longtime friend of mine. I met him in the political arena, 30 years ago. When George W. Bush ran for governor in 1994. But I talked to Bruce about what we were doing out here in the Permian Basin and talked about infrastructure. And we were having a fatality a day out here. And we needed help. We needed to improve the infrastructure, the roads. We needed safe roads to drive on.
Right.
And so Bruce got behind it and talked to the governor about it. Bruce actually kind of has his name for it, which I've used a lot now, which is called Permian Promise.
Yes.
And so he accelerated the infrastructure funding out here dramatically. And it put us in a position where all of a sudden, we were spending a lot on road improvement all across the Permian Basin. But it also, by the end of the third year, because of a lot of the funding that came from the state, into the third year, we PSP, and we invested about $125 million, but we had brought in about $1.5 billion. And so much of that was infrastructure dollars, and it continues to this day. I mean, it's and so I say, we've done so many other great projects, but it's kind of the foundation. I mean, it's kind of because it all of a sudden not validated PSP, but it validated the whole concept of public-private partnerships.
Yes.
Because we've got the state working with us in a very serious way, and like I said, they do to this day. I salute the governor. He's given us a lot of support. But that's what kicked us off. Shortly after that, or along the same time, one of the early education investments we made was Idea Schools, and bringing Idea Schools, charter schools into here and Odessa. And I think that was a very important step for us to take. I think bringing competition into the education world is important, and that has worked out well. First, we brought in another idea. We're building another Idea School soon, and Harmony, which is another charter school, has come in. We brought them in as well. So those are a couple of things that early on that we did. But we've had, I don't know how many different investments we've had to date now, but it's got to be 30 plus, and on the healthcare side and the education side. So anyway, it's been great, but it's kind of, I would say, Krista, that at the end of our third year, we didn't know how this was going to go, what the success would be or lack thereof.
Right, because there was no
no
roadmap
for it, no models for it, no roadmaps, no anything. But at the end of the third year, we said we're having some success, and so we said we need to go big, and so we're going big.
I love it, and that's the sentiment out here. Go big or go home. We're going big in West Texas.
Exactly.
I love that, and you have comprised almost 30 oil and gas companies in higher education, and I love that they're all coming together because traditionally you look at others as competition, but we're really looking at community over competition here. What is it that you think is the reason why this is being successful, and how important is the unity for the long-term success? Because this is going to make a difference 50 years from now.
Yeah, look, it's leadership is what it is, and these companies, all these members of the board, they're all extraordinary leaders in their own right. And as leaders of, we've got two chancellors, the chancellor of the University of Texas system and the Texas Tech system. incredibly important leadership positions for the state of Texas. So they're there, and then we have 28 energy companies. And all of these leaders realize the importance of giving something back to the community. Mm-hmm. All these leaders realize, look, I mean, wherever we work and wherever we operate, we ought to do what we can to improve the quality of life for all of those citizens. And right. so it's that's part of the spirit of being I call it a strong, effective, compassionate leader. Because I'm one that, when it comes to leadership, compassion is one of those qualities that strong leaders have, and so all of these leaders that I have gotten to know on the Permian Basin board, they're all people with good hearts and want to serve, and mm-hmm. You could call them all servant leaders, is what they are.
Absolutely.
And the other thing you have to remember. Is that these companies are owned by literally millions of people mm-hmm. that own the stock in the companies, and so they're bringing all of those shareholders and owners along with them, and so to me that's kind of a nice, it's just nice to be a part of a group of competitors, as you're saying, when it comes to trying to fight out for a lease or whatever it might be. They're competing with each other, but when it comes to serving the community, they're all together.
And I love that. And I think that's something that makes West Texas different than other parts of the world. It really, the community service that is done here, the philanthropy, you see it at every event that you go to in West Texas. The amount of giving that happens here in West Texas is like none other in the world.
No, it's remarkable. It mm-hmm. totally is. I mean, when I first came here back in 1975, we had the Beefeater Ball, we called it, and it was for, it was amazing how much money we would raise for that. Mm-hmm. It's just, the spirit is just phenomenal. Beefeater's Ball was kind of a classic. They had it out at the county barn off of 80, and they'd get about 4 or 5 Black Angus cattle in there, and they'd run them through the pen, and people would bid on them by the pound. They'd send that one back out, and they'd bring in another one, and then they'd keep going around with them. They would sell the same one 3 or 4 times.
That's funny.
So anyway, the giving spirit's remarkable. It truly is. I've been very involved in the Bynum School here. My daughter was one of the originals of the Bynum School. She was one of 7, and now they got 125 or 30 of them. And so, it's just an incredible giving, philanthropic spirit that sets us apart. I mean, there's a friendly spirit that sets us apart. When I was in government, I would come out here from time to time, maybe just a couple of times now that I think about it. But whenever I came out here and be heading back to Washington, whatever kind of detail I had along with me, they'd always say, people out in Midland sure are friendly, aren't they? And you know what? They are.
They are. That's who we are.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think we should bring back the Beefeater's Ball.
I do too. I'd like to.
One of you out there that wants to take that on, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned you've had a very distinguished career, including your time, as you mentioned, in Washington, and working under President George W. Bush. What was one of your favorite moments from that time that you have now taken that has helped you in what you're doing today?
Well, in terms of one of my favorite moments that helped me do what I'm doing today, there's so many of them. I spent most of my time in China and Russia, and I got favorite moments in each one of those places. I did spend a fair amount of time with Vladimir Putin back in those days, and that was a time when America was energy scarce. Mm-hmm. We were importing our energy, our domestic production was continuing to decline, right. And in my conversations with Vladimir Putin, he was always wanting to sell more oil to the United States. He wanted us to sign a contract with him, and I would always tell him, well, you don't need to sign a contract. It's a fungible commodity. Put it out on the global market, get the highest price you can get is what you ought to do, and and I just thought about, how he was using energy as a strategic weapon. And here we were in the United States, we were vulnerable to that, being energy scarce.
Absolutely.
And so I think that brought home to me, my conversations with Russia and Vladimir Putin, the importance of energy security. And, listen, it wasn't until this new technology came in that the U.S. all of a sudden went from being energy scarce to energy abundant. And if you look at the Permian Basin, I already mentioned that, and we are, if we were a country, we'd be like the fourth largest producing country in the world. I call it the largest secure supply of energy in the world. And so
That's a great term.
When you think about what the Permian Basin has done for the energy security, the economic security, the national security of this country, I mean, people have no idea what this resource means to their security here in America and around the world, for that matter.
Right.
The other thing I always like to mention when I start talking about energy and what we're contributing to the security of the country, I also like to talk about, because it's true, the people around the world that we're bringing out of the darkness into the light, and how many people we're helping lift out of poverty because of energy that we're producing right here in the Permian Basin. It's hundreds of millions.
Right.
And so, the story, we need to get out and continue to tell the story, let people realize how important energy is, how oil and gas is, how important oil and gas is to this not only just region, not only this country, but this world. And they need to understand that we're going to be consuming and needing lots of oil and gas for generations to come. So I think that's, in terms of, that brought into perspective for me how important this Permian Basin is.
Right.
Just having dealt with the other side when they were energy abundant and we were energy scarce, and realize that how it changes the whole context of the geopolitical landscape that you're dealing in. If you're talking to somebody across the table from you that you're importing from, it's a whole lot different conversation than if you're talking to somebody that you're exporting to. So.
Yes, sir. You mentioned the landscape of the world right now. How hopeful are you with everything that you hear in the news and you see? You're here in the heart of it. What are your hopes that happen over the next 25, 50 years?
Well,
or even immediate 5 years.
Yeah. Look, I grew up. I'm a baby boomer. My father landed at Normandy at D+11 or 12, and so I'm from that generation that was blessed with a generation that was about serving the world and leading the world. I think America has a big responsibility to continue to lead this world, all corners of it. And so I'm hopeful that we'll see leadership that believes that yeah, America does have an important role to play in bringing freedom and peace to individuals and countries all around the world.
Yes.
That's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that we continue to have leaders with a good heart and a good soul and want to make a difference. Understand that we're all here to serve others.
Absolutely. And we appreciate the service that you've provided for our country, for sure, 100%.
Thank you, Krista.
We mentioned earlier, you mentioned you working with George W. Bush. Something major happened during his administration that none of us will ever forget, 9/11. I have to ask you, where were you on that day?
I was up at the Capitol. I actually was at Longworth building just across the street, and getting ready to go into Representative Gibbons' office. He was a congressman from Nevada, and I had a 9 o'clock appointment with him. The first plane hit about 8:56, and the second plane hit shortly thereafter, and So that's where I was, and walked outside of the House building and look up at the Capitol and stand there talking to my assistant. I said, God, what if they'd flown into that, and went down to my office, which was in the Commerce Building, looked out across the Potomac, and the Pentagon was on fire. And that was certainly a very surreal moment for me, for sure. And then they took me off to Mount Weather, which is the undisclosed location, which is where I stayed for the next few days, and that changed the pattern of my life as Secretary of Commerce for the next couple of years. What I would do. I was one of those in line to be the president, so consequently they always had to have somebody that was in line to be the president out of Washington, D.C. And so I was one of those, one of like 10. And so I would have my rotation. I'd have to figure out someplace to be other than Washington, D.C.
Wow. What a time. And like you said, it changed the trajectory of your life. But
Right.
Looking back on that, because I felt like just as someone who was sitting here in Midland, Texas that day, watching it on TV, it changed all of our lives forever. What was it and we saw hope from the administration. What was your message that you wanted to get across to even the people around you, let alone the world?
Well, we're going to be fine. We're resilient. We will do what we need to do. Yeah. And I called my good friend Bill Daley up, who was the Secretary of Commerce before me, good friend, great guy. And I said, Bill, look, you and I need to get on an airplane and fly somewhere, just to show people that air travel is safe. And so,
right.
So anyway, we went out to Baltimore Airport, got a Southwest Airlines, and flew to Kansas City, and got some barbecue and flew back home.
I love it.
But just wanted to show people that flying is safe, will remain safe, and people were, of course. It was a interesting time because of how the country came together.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was, and then under great leadership of the president. I mean, he had some tough calls to make, the toughest calls anybody could ever imagine having to make, and he made them in the right kind of way and for the right reasons. And anyway, it was it was an interesting time.
Well, I can't think of two better people to be there running the country at the time than West Texans, because that's that resilient spirit that we really needed at that time. Let's talk about West Texas. I know you have hopes and visions and goals for what this looks like, and PSP has done so many great things in the past 6 years, but I know you have a broader vision. If you had a wish list of how it looks, when your grandchildren are growing up here, what would that wish list look like, and what is your hope?
My wish list would be that everybody in the Permian Basin could read. And I mean, not only the students, but adults as well. So just, I would love to see 100% literacy. But we're laser focused on reading at the third grade level, because in Texas, they grade students at how well they're reading in the third grade. Unfortunately, about 60% of the students in the third grade in the Permian Basin are not reading at grade level. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
It's a huge problem. We need to fix it. And we're going to have been, but become more laser focused on it. Our schools are not what they should be. And we want to continue to help support not only the public schools, but the private schools and charter schools as well. Like I said earlier, I think competition is good.
Yes.
But reading. I mean, I think that, you can't have too many goals. You have too many, you don't have any goals. And so I think, number one goal for us at PSP is doing all we can to help put systems in place that teach everyone how to read, but we're very focused on those in third grade, how they're reading. But that begins before third grade. That begins K through 3 years old, before kindergarten, 3 years old to kindergarten. I mean, you got to really teach them how to read.
And I think that is so true, because a strong education from the beginning means a stronger community outcome at the end too, and their lives will be changed by the efforts of what you're doing. So it's so important that we focus on that.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, it just the data is real, and it's discouraging to see what happens to those students that are not reading at grade level by the third or fourth grade. It's just, if you can't read, you can't learn.
Yeah.
And so there are two benchmarks really they talk about in terms of education. You know, children need to be able to read by the third grade or fourth grade at grade level, and also need to be at grade level in math by the eighth grade in algebra. And if they hit those two marks, then they're off. But if they miss one or two of them, it's a problem for life.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a young generation of West Texans that are here. The average age, I'm sure you've heard this, 30 years old, and they're having babies, and we're seeing a boom. What advice would you give to those people that are maybe new to West Texas, or now they're raising their children here in West Texas? You've been through many cycles here in the Permian Basin. What advice would you give to them?
Get involved in the community. Get involved in your local church. Get involved in your schools. Talk about education all the time. Make it your priority. I mean, I tell everybody that you've got you got a role to play. If you want this to be a strong, healthy, vibrant, flourishing community, I mean, it needs you involved in it. Whatever, and there are plenty of places to be involved and engaged. But I think, particularly education. I mean, I tell all the elected officials that if education is not working in your city, your city's not working. And so whatever public role you're playing, you need to feel like you're responsible for education in this city, in this county, in this area. And that's on the education side. On the healthcare side, we've got certainly some transformative ideas where we feel like first of all, we've got 700 acres at the corner of 1788 and 191 that we effectively control. We're going to call it the Beacon. It's where UTPB is, Wagner Noel is, where they're building the Permian Basin Behavioral Health Center. We were very involved in the funding of that. State put in half of it. Private philanthropy put in half of it, $250 million project. PSP put in a nice slug of money for that. So that's under construction, and it'll open sometime this next year. I think in spring of 26, I think is when it's going to open. So that's a big deal.
Yes.
But we also are hopeful that we can attract MD Anderson to the Permian Basin, which would be a real game changer.
Absolutely.
To get the #1 cancer center in the world located in the Permian Basin it would change the game. I mean, it would bring other elite healthcare providers into the Permian Basin. So excited about that. It's another big idea. I mean, I think our two moonshot ideas are for healthcare is bringing MD Anderson into the Permian Basin because we know what it'll do, and a moonshot idea for healthcare, for education would be teaching all children to read at third grade level when they're in the third grade.
Well, I know it's going to happen. I see the good work that you're doing, and I believe all those things will come to fruition. When everyone comes together, only good can happen. So I'm so excited about that. I have to ask you a couple fun questions.
Okay.
You said golf earlier. What's your lowest score?
69.
Hey, that's great. Have you had a hole in one?
Yeah.
Oh, Awesome. Where were you? Everyone knows the day they were wherever they were.
Yeah, no, I was in high school.
Okay.
Piney Point Golf Center. Anyway, par 3.
It's great.
175 yards.
It's a nice little sandwich.
Hit a 5-iron.
5-iron.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who would win at golf, you or George W.?
Well, he probably beat me now. I used to beat him all the time. I don't know. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. We've had a lot of fun playing together.
I bet you have.
Yeah.
Favorite course you've ever been to?
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to say Augusta, I guess. No, Pebble Beach. You know, it's also a great one. Both of those are fabulous golf courses. Cypress is a good one.
Yes.
All those are great golf courses.
Absolutely. And a fun fact we wouldn't know about you reading your bio, your very long, distinguished bio. What's one that's not on there?
Oh, a fun fact about me. Oh my gosh, that's not on there. I played on a Pop Warner football team. It played in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. I was 14 years old. But we got beat.
That's okay.
We were there.
But you had fun, right?
I had fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Favorite thing about West Texas? What is your favorite?
The people, I mean. They're all like you, just smiling. Everybody's smiling and happy.
Why not? Life's too short not to smile.
That's what I think.
I could not agree more.
That's what I tell all the young kids. I see one of those smile. You keep that smile on your face, you're going to do just fine.
Yes, sir. Well, Secretary Evans, we appreciate your leadership, your vision with PSP and for the future. Is there anything in closing that we haven't talked about that you want to maybe say to those that live and work and invest here in the Permian
Well, look, one of the main things I want to say, what an incredible team we have at PSP.
Yes.
I know that Tracy's been on this a number of times. She's a phenomenal leader.
She really is.
She's a phenomenal CEO. She got a great team around her.
Yes.
So I couldn't be prouder of them. I mean, Tracy's been, she came about a year after I guess we started. But so she's been here, 5-6 years and doing a remarkable job and brings great energy to the task every day and surrounds herself with a lot of great talent. And so, we have a fantastic team.
Yes, sir. Well, we are so excited as someone that's lived here now 26 years. My husband is a lifelong West Texan. We have seen the progress that has happened here, and we look forward to seeing what PSP does in the next 50 years. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you for what you do. I'm really impressed with your small business operation here that you started in 2015, and I might go in there and buy myself a cap or something in a minute.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We love West Texas and what it's done. And like you said, the people. We feel like, this area has blessed us in so many ways. And all we want is for everyone to live their best life and have their dreams come true. And PSP is helping make that happen. So thank you. So thank you for those kind words. We want to thank all of you for listening. Please share this with others. We are now reaching people all over the world. And that is our goal of the PSP podcast, is to reach people all over the world so they can hear the good things happening here in West Texas with education, healthcare, quality of life. That's what it's all about. So please share this today and be sure to subscribe and tune in for the next one. Who knows? I mean, what an honor to have Secretary Evans with us today. So appreciate your time, Secretary. And we encourage you to remember that the future lies in the Permian and we are all in this together. So let's go make it the best day we can. Thank you, Secretary. We look forward to seeing you next time.
You bet.
Thank you. You make it a great day. Thank you for listening to the Permian Strategic Partnership podcast. For more information, go to permianpartnership.org.